Hi, Everett. Hi, Ruby. I picked out a book today for Ruby because it's about a little friend named Ruby, and Ruby bakes a cake. But Everett, you'll like this story too. Think of the things you can make in your playhouse and in your fort, where you can make a cake, mix it up with your pots and pans, see what good stuff you want to put in it. Okay. Hello, Ruby. Are you all comfy? Are you sitting by Everett? Okay, I have a story. Here you go. Ruby, raccoon, wanted to bake a cake, but she didn't know how. I will ask my friends what it takes to bake a cake, she said. Ruby ran to the stone wall. She saw Sam Squirrel. Sam, what does it take to bake a cake? Try adding nuts, said Sam. Thank you, said Ruby. Come join me when my cake is done. Nuts are good in a cake. Ruby ran to the fence. She saw Bunny Rabbit. Bunny, what does it take to bake a cake? Oh, every cake needs carrot tops, said Bunny. Thank you, called Ruby. Please come over when my cake is done. Ruby ran to the brook. A brook is like a little stream, a little river. Ruby saw Dan Duck. Dan, what does it take to bake a cake? Oh, well, I never made a cake, but I always enjoy snails, said Dan. Thank you, said Ruby. Please come to my house when my cake is done. Snails? Ruby ran to the tree. She saw Jenny Wren. Jenny, what does it take to bake a cake? Oh, don't forget wiggly worms, said Jenny. Thank you very much, said Ruby. Please come over when my cake is done. Ooh, some worms in the cake. Ooh. Ruby ran to the pond. She saw Frankie Frog. Frankie, what does it take to bake a cake? Ooh, flick, flick, flies, said Frankie. Really? said Ruby. Well, please join me when my cake is done. Ooh, the frog wants to put in flies. So we have worms and flies and carrot tops and nuts. Ruby ran home. She put everything into a big bowl. She mixed the batter up and put it in a pan. She baked it in the oven. This does not smell good, said Ruby. Ruby's friends came over to share her cake. She took it out of the oven. This does not look good, said Ruby. Do you see that cake right here? All her friends want some cake. Do you think they'll like it? With nuts and carrot tops and flies and worms. Oof, 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 oof. Ruby cut the cake. She gave it to her friends, and her friends began to eat. This does not taste good, said Ruby. No, Ruby. The cake is nice and crunchy, said Sam. And the cake is good and tall, said Bunny. It has a lovely round shape, said Dan. Oh, I have never tasted such a juicy cake, said Jenny. And what a color, Ruby, said Frankie. This is one green cake. Do you want some? Want some cake? Mwah. Here you go. What do you think? Tastes good? Ruby smiled. It is not a good cake, she said, but you are very good friends. Do you want a piece? You want a little piece of that cake? Mmm. So, cake with worms and flies and snails and all kinds of things. We like cake with strawberries and some sugar and some, chocolate chips with some whipped cream on top. I know that's something Everett really likes, and Ruby too. So that was the story just for you. I hope you liked it, and I will see you soon. Give you big hugs. I love you. Bye bye.